And kia ora, good day everyone, and thank you for being with us here on Super Pinoy and Apna TV. This is the segment called Tuesdays with Kuya Romy, and as usual we have invited a guest who is going to present to us today some of the things that they have been doing in the community so that you will be able to join in, right? We know that Filipinos love basketball, right? And in this particular case, we're going to talk about basketball. But aside from it being Filipinos only, this is a project that has involved different nationalities in New Zealand. Okay, I will ask our guest to explain what they have done. And our guest this evening is Emer Fabian. Emer, magandang hapon po.
Magandang hapon po. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, and first, mind introducing yourself to our audience, who you are when you came to New Zealand in maybe a minute or so.
Yeah, my name is Emerito Fabian. So we came to New Zealand back in 2008. I've got 4 boys and my wife Ida. We've started the Knights basketball officially back in 2017.
Yeah, yeah. So this Knights basketball, this involves children from what age to what age?
Yeah, so we've got boys and girls ages from 7 years old until 18, 19 years old.
Yeah,
playing with us.
Yeah, playing basketball.
Playing basketball, yeah.
Yeah. And why did you do it?
Well, probably, as Filipinos, you know, I think every Filipino knows how to play basketball. Plus the fact that I have 4 boys, so all of them are into basketball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how did it become a multicultural activity?
It started because my sons are playing basketball, so we've started as a group, a small group, just a team, and then it grew up with words of mouth with their classmates and teammates in school. Mm-hmm. So that's how it started. So we didn't concentrate into just the Filipino group.
Yeah, and where were you based originally?
We are based in, the club is based in Kelson Boys High. Mm-hmm. So we train every Friday night and Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is a mix of...
it's a mixed culture.
And also at the same time, mixed gender.
Mixed gender, yes.
Yeah. And how do they play? Do they play in a mixed gender type of game, or there's a boys team, girls team?
Yeah, so the format of our club is we train them every Friday. So the juniors train every Friday. So it's a mixed team. So all at the same time, boys and girls. And then the seniors train every Saturday morning.
Yeah, so also there are 2 groups.
There are 2 groups, yeah.
And what's the line between the seniors and the juniors?
So any 14 years old and above, they're considered as seniors. And then 13 years old to 6 years old, 7 years old, they're called juniors. So Friday night, we've got 3 sessions. We've got the first session for the really beginners, second session, those slightly advanced, and the third sessions are those, shall we say, advanced in their skills.
Yeah. So there's a session for juniors, and then there's another 3 sessions for...
1 session for the seniors.
One session only for the seniors. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. There's just something that piqued my interest there. When you say they play, do they play just among themselves? Do they play with other teams? Do they compete elsewhere?
So in our training, so first half of the training is all skills training, and then the next half will be a scrimmage, if you want to call it scrimmage, among themselves. So when there is an invitation for like a tournament or a game, so that's when we play with other teams.
In Auckland and...
In Auckland, around New Zealand. Yeah.
Around New Zealand as well.
And we also played, we played in Melbourne, and we played in Hawaii.
All right.
Yeah.
So you also bring them to international
yes, whenever we
settings.
can, yeah. But unfortunately with this COVID thing, so all of the international games or tournaments, that's all on hold at the moment.
And is Knights basketball being funded by an association, a group? How is it being funded?
No, so our funds are just relying solely on the fees that the players, the parents pays. So we're not funded by any organizations.
Right.
And our coaches are all volunteers. We are all volunteers.
So how many coaches have you got now?
So I've got 4 volunteer coaches at the moment.
Would you be able to acknowledge them? Just
We've got Coach Ariel Alvaran, Coach Junius Timasuit, Coach Arman, and Coach Tylo Patches.
and they're all volunteering their,
They are all
their
volunteers.
services.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they go to international events, you mentioned how many? 2 already. Hawaii and
Yeah,
Melbourne.
2 in Melbourne and 1 in Hawaii.
Twice in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Do the players pay for the expenses themselves or?
Yeah, in theory, yes, but during our 3 tours, we did some fundraising as well
All right, and they
So-
were able to
to divide it among the team.
Yeah. Now, we are going for a break now, but when we come back, I'd like us to talk more about how our audience, those who are listening to us, how they can participate in the activities that you're doing. Okay, but we are going to take a break now, and we'll see you later on.
This is your opera princess, Jazz Vadama, reporting for Super Pinoy, Ikwento Mo. Today, I am here at St. David's Church in Waharoa, which was established in 1912 to attend the relaunching of St. David's Church. It's headed by the Filipino community. Come on, let's go! Why was St. David's relaunched?
We had a suggestion a few years ago that, actually quite a few years ago, that we should have a ministry here that reaches out into the community, particularly farming families, but nothing was clicking. It didn't seem to be the right time. And then about 2 years ago, I met with Pastor Andy, and again, nothing happened. But quite recently, we had a fresh approach, and I think we all felt it was the right time. And our elders at St Andrews were really excited that there was a way in which St David's could be reused or extended, and it's all gone from there to where we are today.
What is the purpose and vision of St. David's Church?
Oh, well, St. David is an outreach of St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church, Maramara. Our mandate is to make disciples in Waharoa, but we're targeting primarily Filipinos and then the residents of Waharoa. But eventually we will be including the wider area around Maramara. That's it.
What makes St. David's Church unique than other churches?
Well, what makes it unique is because we do the service in Taglish, which is in Tagalog or Filipino, the Filipino national language, plus English. There's someone, usually our pastor would speak in Tagalog, and then another one would interpret or translate it into English. Plus, of course, being Filipinos, how we love to eat. So after every service, we do barbecue, as you can see in the back, plus more food than mostly Filipino foods, which we miss very much. So yeah, and the fellowship with other Filipinos. It's what makes it unique. Thank you.
This is your opera princess, Jasmine Dammer, reporting for Super Pinoy Ikwento Mo!
Back to Tuesdays with Kuya Romy. You are watching Super Pinoy on Apna TV channel 36. And with us is Emer Fabian. Emer, before we went for a break, you were talking about the different places that you've been to with your players. Now, in this particular case, can you tell us how the viewers that are watching us, how they can join your program?
Yeah. So for Knights basketball, we actually don't advertise our club, but it's just a word of mouth from the players themselves and the parents. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can give us a call at 027-475-6885. And we've got a Facebook page, a public Facebook page, Knights Basketball New Zealand. You can look it up on Facebook. And we are our training is at Kelston Boys High School in Avondale. Kelston Boys High School. We are there from 5:30 p.m. until 9:30 in the evening every Friday for the juniors. So that will be from 7 years old until 13 years old. And then 14 years old and above, we train every Saturday from 9 to 11 a.m. at Kelston Boys High.
9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
9 a.m.
Yeah. So the Friday one is in the evening.
In the evening.
And for the Saturday one for seniors,
For the
it's
seniors.
on the morning of Saturday.
Yeah, 9 to 11.
Okay. Yeah. So what do they have to bring if they want to join your program? Do they have to buy their own uniforms, or can they just go over and say, "Hey, coach, I want to be trained by you"?
Yeah. Just come over. Bring your basketball if you have. If not, we have basketballs. Bring a lot of water. Bring a water bottle, and yeah, just come with your sneakers on and meet us there in the gym.
Yeah. Now, under the COVID-19 situation, do you still play, or do you have any restrictions?
We do have restrictions. So we only train when we are at level 1. As soon as we go on level 2, all trainings are suspended just to be safe. Our Knights basketball, New Zealand is our main concern, or our main point is safety for all the players and the parents and their families.
Yeah. So how many players have you got now? You basically have 4 types of players, right?
Yeah.
You have the juniors, juniors 1, juniors 2, juniors 3.
Yeah.
Depending on the level of the skills that they
All
have.
the skills, yeah.
And then you have the seniors one.
Yeah.
So how many players have you got
So all in
altogether?
all, around 50 to 60 players. So on a Friday night, for each session, as a minimum of probably around 15. Yeah.
So actually, that's you can already form two teams for
2 teams,
scrimmage,
yes, yes, for the scrimmage.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the coaches that you have, you said you have 4 coaches. If there are viewers out there who would like to become coaches for Knights basketball as well, is that something that you can also
Yeah, we
accept?
actually do encourage parents to help us as well. So apart from those 4 coaches, we also have parents who are volunteering as a manager. And at some stage, they also volunteer. They also become a coach in some of the leagues or tournaments that we play. Because let's face it, if we've got 3 teams ongoing, playing one after the other, those 4 coaches cannot physically be on the game as well. So we encourage the parents as well.
Yeah, and going back, it's a multicultural setup, right?
Yes.
So you've got Filipinos.
We've got
you've
Filipinos.
What
we've
other
got-
nationalities have you got?
We've got Tongans, Samoans, Kiwis. Yeah, everyone is welcome.
Yeah. So are you do you have any aspiration to recreate Knights basketball in Auckland, say in Christchurch, for example, or do you have counterparts in other places of New Zealand?
As of now, we don't. It will be a good idea if we'll get a sort of a satellite club down in Christchurch. That would be good, actually.
Yeah, or maybe somebody is already doing it in Christchurch
Yeah.
or in Wellington, and maybe what can happen is the 3 or 4 of you can get together maybe and do a program that is intended for our younger generation. Eh?
Yeah. Well, actually, Knights, us in Knights basketball, we are also collaborating with other clubs. So yeah, sometimes we need a player. Can you lend us a player? Then, as long as the player wants, then that shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, so you lend them your players.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the advancement in, say, if somebody joins your club, and do you also prepare them to the next step? For example, to play in their school or to play in.
Yes. Actually, what we're telling our kids, our players, is our main point for them is to be playing at a prems level, senior prems level. So 3-4 years back, my juniors player, they are now playing. Most of them are now playing in the senior prems at school, and some of the two of the under 18s that played with us in our club 2 years ago, they are now playing in NBL. So that makes us proud, although we're not getting the credit, but them played for us when
When they were younger.
When they were younger, it's an honor.
Yeah, and you prepare them for something that is bigger.
Yeah, at least we Knights basketball contributed at least in some at some stage.
Yeah, and this is again to repeat it. It's a cross-gender. What do you call it? Multi-gender, both female and male.
Yeah.
And multicultural.
Multicultural,
anybody from any background
as long
can
as
join.
they want to play basketball.
Yes, and the only key is you want to play basketball.
You want to play basketball.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So before we end our segment today, I'd like to give Emer some words, last words that he would like to impart to our viewers out there. Emer.
Yeah. So our principle in Knights basketball is just, we keep telling the kids is we're not just teaching you how to play ball, but we are teaching you life lessons that you can bring on and to become a good member of the community.
Yeah. So thank you very much for watching Tuesdays with Kuya Romy on Super Pinoy in Apna TV channel 36, and stay with us next week, or join us again next week when we talk. Next week we have another guest who will talk about basketball again, right? Among Filipinos, basketball is a passion.
It's a passion for every Filipino,
Yeah, for most Filipinos.
Yes.
Yeah. For most Filipinos, it's a passion. Okay, so thank you very much, Emer.
Thank
and
you
for being with us.
Thank you too for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for watching us. See you next week.
Kayo po'y nanonood sa Super Pinoy at narito ang kwento ng VOA News.
This time-lapse video shows Canadarm2 outside the International Space Station, or ISS. Designers built the robot to help with maintenance, moving supplies and astronauts, and catching vehicles before berthing them to the ISS. The robot's maneuvering has brought renewed attention to the growing concern about space junk orbiting our planet. NASA estimates there are about 100 million pieces of debris that are 1 millimeter or larger, and it says even a paint fleck could damage a spaceship. Experts say the flying debris threatens everything in orbit. This week, word came that a strike actually happened on the Canadarm2 robot. NASA and the Canadian Space Agency released this image of what they're calling a lucky strike that caused a puncture in Canadarm2. Lucky because the arm is relatively small. The CSA says the robot's performance is unaffected. In other news, NASA's new administrator and former U.S. Senator Bill Nelson this week announced 2 robotic missions to Venus, the solar system's hottest planet and our closest neighbor. He says the research could help explain why life exists on Earth and not elsewhere that we know of in the solar system.
Planetary science is critical in answering key questions that we have as humans, like, are we alone? What implications beyond our solar system could these two missions have? This is really exciting stuff.
This won't be the first mission to Venus. The U.S. and former USSR sent multiple crafts there in the early days of space exploration, with NASA's Mariner 2 performing the first successful flyby in 1962. The upcoming missions will feature far more sophisticated 21st century technology to investigate whether Venus ever had an ocean and the history of the planet's geology. They will be the first missions in more than 30 years to a planet NASA calls hot, hellish, and unforgiving. The agency looks to launch by around 2030. Finally this week, NASA's Mars helicopter Ingenuity experienced its first major in-flight problem since it first flew in Martian skies last month. After a minute in flight, one of several onboard cameras failed to register with the navigation system. Ingenuity flew partially blind, confused as to its whereabouts. The tiny helicopter still managed to land within 5 meters of its target. Arash Arabasadi, VOA News.
Italians are welcoming an end to months of pandemic lockdown. For some, sipping coffee indoors at their favorite cafe reminds them of the simple pleasures long denied to them.
This is one of the many signs of starting again. One coffee gives us the feeling of living serenely again.
We drink this first coffee with pleasure. We are starting again. Let's hope for this for everyone. We have missed these traditions.
Italy has endured in and out restrictions since last year, when the country became one of the world's first COVID-19 hotspots.
Seeing this place fill up again after almost 4 months gives me a huge sense of satisfaction, above all for a place as big and important as this one.
Italy has registered more than 4.2 million COVID-19 cases, but new infections have declined of late amid a successful vaccination campaign. Meanwhile, German health officials said the coronavirus risk level in the country has been reduced from very high to high. But they warned it does not mean the pandemic is over.
It means that the second and third wave, a very, very difficult situation, has been broken. The numbers are much better than they were, but high also means they are still a risk, and if we are not careful, that could change again very quickly.
The number of new weekly cases has fallen to about 3 dozens per 100,000 residents nationwide. And in Israel, a very special day. Almost all restrictions have been lifted, rendering unnecessary the green vaccination passes that until now had been required to access public venues.
After quarantines and close downs and all the restrictions we've been experienced, now we are opening all the activity in Israel and no more Green Pass.
With a population of 9.3 million, Israel has delivered over 5.4 million first doses and at least 5.1 million second doses of the Pfizer vaccine. Mariama Diallo, VOA News.
Take a slight right turn. Getting directions from a mobile phone may be helpful, but the driver still looks away from the road to consult a map on a small screen. What if the entire windshield is the navigation device as a safer way to navigate?
We can create 3D images far away from a human, and they could be visible through a specific sort of glass. We call it holographic glass.
The Swiss company Wayray has created a unique film. When embedded between two pieces of glass, imitates a lens. When combined with software and laser projection mounted in the car's dashboard, the driver can see augmented reality, virtual information through the windshield, which is unlike other augmented reality experiences that can only be seen through special glasses or headsets, says Wayray founder Vitaly Ponomarov.
We're using diffraction to reflect the light directly on humans' retina, so it looks like a real 3D object as it was in real world. So we simulate how the real object would have emitted the light.
In addition to navigation, the windshield can also display safety information that detects other cars, pedestrians, or objects, primarily using data from sensors that already exist in cars. But Wayray's technology is not just limited to a car windshield. From the windows of airplanes to trains and buildings, augmented reality is possible with any transparent surface. In the future, users could play games, access social media, learn information about what they are seeing all through the holographic displays on the glass. Wayray's founder expects augmented reality windshields to be found in some new cars sometime around 2023. Elizabeth Lee, VOA News.
Honeybees face extinction in the mountains of Bolivia's Yungas region.
Our bees are in constant danger due to the threat of uncontrolled forest burning and the extraction of wood. Many bees are disappearing here. We feel obliged to continue working for the bees in order to rescue these species.
For the past 10 years, zootechnical engineering vet Eric Paredes and his wife Cynthia Kaisaya Yujra have scoured the region in search of beehives to save.
Bees are incredibly important for our planet. So from that point of view, we give greater importance to what we do.
Of the nearly 20,000 hectares of forest in this region, 60% recently became vulnerable as deforestation increased and coca plants went in. So Paredes and Kaisaya Yujra find bees in their dwindling habitats and take them to the family-owned sanctuary Las Orquídeas, Spanish for the orchids.
The objective of this place is for it to become a bee research institution for all native stingless bees, and also to be able to transmit this knowledge to different regions so the species is valued more. Our mission is to simply save bees.
Paredes and his wife say they've saved 10 species of bees, but that local bee populations still dropped by half. Bees pollinate plants that produce about 70% of the food we eat. Experts say heavy pesticide use, climate change, and urbanization are the main causes of declining populations. Arash Arabasadi, VOA News, Washington.